Module, we will learn the inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs of the monitor risks process. Control risks is the process of proactively monitoring all identified risks, being prepared to identify new risks that may present themselves, and updating the risk management plan as necessary. It is important that the discipline of risk management be addressed throughout the project lifecycle. The project team must be constantly reevaluating the changing project environment and prepared to identify newly emergent risks or better understand existing risks. The PMBOK guide defines 5 inputs to the control risks process. The project management plan will include the risk management plan, which will describe how risks should be monitored and controlled. This can include an understanding of stakeholder risk tolerances and their expected changes over the project lifecycle, and describe how team members such as risk owners and risk action owners will track and report risk-related information and updates. The risk register will also be a key input as it lists the individual project risks along with attributes such as priority, quantitative value, or risk owner. The risk report will describe the overall risk exposure to the project as a whole. Work performance data and reports will represent the health of the project in either simple status or as a summarized report. When monitoring and controlling project risks, there will be a significant overlap with controlling schedule and controlling costs. The project being behind schedule or over budget may indicate that identified risks or even unidentified risks are occurring. Technical performance measurement focuses on product functionality. As the products are developed, typically known as deliverables, there may be specific performance criteria it will be measured against by the customer or end user. This can include size, speed, reliability, or other characteristics. If the team is experiencing challenges, such as technical challenges, there may be risks involved in not fulfilling product requirements. This can lead to either a lack of customer satisfaction or extend the schedule or budget in attempts to overcome the challenges. In the context of controlling risk, the idea is to use these performance measurements as a basis to understand if risks are occurring or if new risks need to be identified. Reserve analysis is the monitoring of the contingency reserves that have been incorporated into the schedule and cost performance baselines as a response to identified and accepted risks. Again, there is a strong overlap with the control schedule and control costs process. By monitoring the contingency reserves, the team can determine if the risk has actualized or not. If the risk has actualized, it can be useful to measure the amount of reserve that was allocated versus the actual impact of the risk to help improve the ability to capture lessons learned. Combined, this risk reassessment is essentially the continuous maintenance of the risk register. The project team must be on the lookout for new risks. In some instances, risks will arise in a project that could not have been anticipated earlier. These are known as emergent risks. Additionally, the estimated probabilities of already identified risks can change over time. For example, as the team approaches the fall season, the probability of a hurricane will decrease. Similarly, the estimated impacts of identified risks can also fluctuate. If the price of a commodity drops, the impact of an opportunity may be decreased since the cost savings would not be as high. As probabilities and impacts change, the project team may choose to revisit the qualitative and quantitative analysis processes and subsequently revise their approach to risk response as risks become more or less relevant. In some cases, if a risk actualizes or is no longer relevant, it can be removed from the risk register. While risk reassessment should be a continuous practice that the team is doing on a day-to-day basis, formal reassessments can be scheduled as defined by the risk management plan. Another important tool and technique is risk audits. A risk audit is an examination of the project's success and shortcomings in risk management. This may include a review of how effective risk response has been, whether the processes of risk management have been properly scaled and performed at an appropriate frequency, and how risk management can be performed better in the future. This is one of the major pieces of the risk governance model to help drive continuous improvement, both at the project and organizational levels. Risk audits may be planned ahead of time or conducted randomly as prescribed by the Risk Management Plan. There are two key outputs for the control risks process. Work performance information is the evaluation of work performance data against planned baselines to create comparative metrics on schedule, cost, and technical performance. In risk management, this may include the status of risk responses and the effect responses have had on project performance. Work performance information will be an input to the monitor and control project work process, where it will be consolidated and used for generating performance reports. As the project environment changes, it is inevitable that changes will be required when actively managing risks. If controlling risk will require a change to the scope, schedule, or cost baselines, then a change request must be issued. For example, if the project team would like to alter its response plan to include a new work package that was not originally planned for, a change request to the scope statement should be issued. Further, if accepted, there will likely be an impact to the schedule and cost baselines as well, and may lead to a new iteration of risk planning processes. The control risks process may also create additional project documentation and updates. The project management plan updates includes changes to the approach of risk management in the risk management plan. Project document updates can include a variety of documents, such as the risk register. This may include documenting the results and notes of risk reassessments, risk audits, adding newly identified risks to the risk register, updating data on probability, impact, or priority, changes in risk ownership, or changes to response plans. Control risks is the process of proactively monitoring all identified risks, being prepared to identify new risks that present themselves, and updating the risk management plan as necessary. It is important that the discipline of risk management be addressed throughout the project lifecycle. The project team must be constantly reevaluating the changing project environment and prepared to identify newly emerging risks or better understand existing risks.